Can you do, can you do me a favor? Can you look in the camera and say like, comment, and subscribe?
Like, comment.
Like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. So to my grandson's channel. Say
Oh.
like, comment, and subscribe to my grandson's channel.
Like, comment, and subscribe to my grandson's channel.
You heard it. Okay, welcome back to If I Knew Then. Today I have my childhood friend, Taylor Cave. He's currently the director of revenue at Trinet. It's been years since we've spoken. We reconnected on LinkedIn. You've been supporting the podcast a lot, which I appreciate. So I invited you on. It's been great to catch up, and I'm looking forward to learn more about your career. But before we get into this, can I turn it over to you to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more?
Yeah. Great catching up as well. Yeah. Started out, Northeast Philly, born and raised, always swore that I'd get out, live in a farm somewhere, and ended up moving 10 minutes away, planting my seeds here in Horsham, Pennsylvania. 2 girls, 6 and 4.5. Awesome time raising them at this point. But yeah, currently director of revenue at Trinet. Started here a month ago. So brand new role, drinking from a fire hose, and super exciting, grateful for the opportunity. And, I think the challenge is what excited me the most. And, I'll always look for something new at any stage in life. So yeah, great to be here.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on. So congrats on the new role. Before I start to ask you questions about that role, can you walk us a little bit through your career journey and where you started, how you got into this field?
Yeah, went to school at East Stroudsburg for marketing. Always wanted to be involved in like advertising. Had the dream of doing that for some reason, and got out of school and got into a sales role and selling mortgages. Really enjoyed it. I was a hustler and played football my whole life in college as well, and found success in that, but always looked back on, yeah, you went to school for marketing, stop wasting it. So left the mortgage world for a bit and went into a marketing role in real estate, and quickly learned that the passion and the effort that you put into something like that, for me at least, didn't get the reward that I was looking for. So that, seeing the title of this podcast, it was like, if I knew, like, not to go into it already, but I ended up, leaving the marketing company, getting back into sales at a startup that was eventually purchased by PayPal. Awesome experience. Was there for 3 years before PayPal bought us, and then spent most of my career at PayPal running sales teams of, we were doing lending, we were selling, PayPal, to e-commerce platforms, and really enjoyed that. But again, kind of lost the challenge. It was there for 10 years of my career between the startup and PayPal. Kind of felt like the same company, same products, almost same team for most of the times, working with the same people, which was great. Learned a boatload, but just needed a new challenge, and ended up going to another startup and realized that ramp up their sales team. We went from, I think, 4 or 5 reps to up to 10 or 11 at some point, and then realized that not all startups get bought by PayPal. So then started to think about really what I wanted to do, and never too late to make a change in industry. I think that the background that I had led me to a place where I felt comfortable feeling uncomfortable, and got into Trinet by a recruiter. Definitely an undervalued, at least from my side of things, an undervalued profession. So yeah, no, been here for a month, and it's been excellent. Love every minute of it.
That's awesome. Okay, so I have a few questions to follow on to that. It's funny, and I don't know if you feel this way or if this is a trope or not, but do you think that your background in sports drew you a bit more into the sales field?
No doubt. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then that's what drew me to it, what made me successful. For years I was just an individual contributor, and sure, you're there for the money. Money's great and everything, but simply just being daily competitive against, someone making more calls than you, something stupid like that, and just really that motivating you. And so, yeah, having the daily win rather than, not, essentially. So yeah, I definitely come from sports.
So all right, that's cool. I find that that's a common theme to me. All the people that I knew that played sports in college, well, I shouldn't say all, a lot of them go into this type of field, either finance or sales or something where there's still a competitive nature to it a bit. So that's cool to hear. Second question is, It sounds like you started to like larger companies more as you got a feel for both. But I know, again, like a startup, the grind mentality, work really hard, super competitive. Not that people don't, I shouldn't say that. I work for a giant company myself, but it's much different, I assume, when you're in a smaller company or a startup like that. Like the feeling is a lot different than when you're working for a larger company. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, I think one of the reasons I left PayPal was all the red tape, especially in leadership, to get something super small approved, like I really want to hire this person. It's going to take me a month to get 7 different approvals. When at a startup, it's, you know, hey, I want to hire this person. And the CEO is like, yeah, no problem. Tell me why I'm in. I think, that to me was one of the biggest differences, whether that's good or bad. Obviously, you have the red tape for a reason. I think where I'm at now is kind of the perfect blend. While they are a public company, a massive company, we're separated by region. So, I help run the Mid-Atlantic, and it's kind of like its own business. We call it Director of Revenue because we run the P&L as well. So you kind of have the support of a massive company, but also feels like the startup because there's not as much red tape.
Right, and you have a level of autonomy that
Exactly.
makes it feel more like, yeah. Okay, that's cool. All right, so now can you tell me a little bit more about what does your role look like now?
Yeah, still learning, but yeah, so my team covers PA down to Tennessee, really helping support small businesses, kind of the pitch is, you start a business in podcasting or you're selling trinkets and you're growing it, you want to scale it, it's really successful, and you don't know the first thing about compliance and all the complexity that goes into HR and payroll and benefits and how to attract new employees. It's very difficult to hire someone, very difficult to retain them. And I think having the support, like something like strong benefits that other massive companies are already offering. And now you as a small company has the opportunity to do that because you're offering great benefits that they offer. So it's really cool to have that opportunity to sell to the SMB space. Pitch the dream. Hey, you're not in business for HR. You're in business to, grow your podcast or grow your trinket store. And it's a really simple pitch in my opinion. But the day to day is really, I have a team of 8 now, so kind of all over the map with actually geographically, but also knowledge. It's kind of neat from my experience because I'm learning as well. So, I'm prospecting. I'm picking up the phone, kind of leading by example, so to speak, and it's helping me learn, but also helping, hey, the coach is doing this, then I certainly can too. Kind of allowing people to get out of their comfort zone. And then so we have brand new folks on the team and also people that have been here 8 years. So a lot of different seniority, and the day to day is kind of at this point learning and really getting in front of as many SMBs as we can.
That's great. You touched on this a bit. Do you like leading teams versus being an individual contributor more?
Yeah. I teetered with this for a while. I went back into sales when I was, an individual contributor at PayPal. And while it's definitely mentally easier, you're less pulling your hair out, but you're still obviously pulling your hair out a good bit. But yeah, I enjoy the coaching and really seeing other people's success over my own. And it's kind of a different feeling. We just talked about having kids, and seeing their success is way better than me winning anything.
No, I know what you're saying. I agree with you too. I've always found it much easier to brag on someone else's behalf than to do it on mine.
Great point.
So it's like putting someone in a position to succeed and then, propping them up and making sure that they get what they deserve in a positive way. I hope that didn't sound bad. Yeah, like
No, yeah,
they get
no,
the
for sure.
accolades they
Yeah,
deserve.
yeah.
Is so much easier than me doing it on my. I tend to downplay the things that I do, and I also find it much more fulfilling that way too. So
Yeah.
I
No,
hear you
yeah.
and I agree with you.
It's almost downplayed, humble. Not that, it's
Yeah, yeah,
it's good to be humble, but it's so much easier to brag on your team than it is yourself, and I really enjoy that.
that's awesome. Um, okay, so can you tell me like what is something that someone who's like I've never been in sales in my life, and I know I've had like some of my closest friends now are in sales, and whenever I ask the question, because I know so little, I tend to generalize too much, and there's obviously running a team of salespeople is much different than being a salesperson yourself. You've kind of already touched on that, but what is something that you think people should consider or should know about the role? You could touch on being an IC or leading a team, but something that people might not know goes into the work that you do that might be interesting to someone who doesn't do it.
I think at least at the IC level, the monotony and hustle that it takes to get one win in, I mean, the SMB space alone, but the enterprise space even harder. You know, you're taking 2 months to close one deal, and it's difficult to find the win. So, you know, as I'm interviewing folks that are applying to be an IC on the team, it's, you know, tell me about a time when you've grinded your butt off for months and you just fell on your face and you have no other option but to continue to fall on your face. And I think that's the hardest part of getting through sales in general. Every single day, one, I need to find a win because I'm not going to actually win on paper for the next 2 to 3 months. I know that's fact. So being able to find small wins, but also fighting through that's probably the hardest thing in sales. So, yeah.
That's an interesting perspective. It's in sport. I'm sure you heard this before, but having goldfish brain in
Yep.
sports, like just
Yeah,
forget it.
exactly that.
Next play. Yeah. That's pretty cool. Is that something you struggled with? Because there's something I saw on, I forget what it was called, but it was some form of basically like rejection therapy where a guy would put him every day, he'd put himself in a situation to be rejected, and he got like to get comfortable with it. He would go to, I'm just making this up, but like he was near a dock and he went to some guy and he's like, "Can you give me a tour of your boat?" And the guy's like, "Are you nuts? No, I'm not doing that." But like most people would feel uncomfortable asking such a ridiculous question,
Yeah.
but he would go up and do it every single day, and the questions would get super ridiculous. But then some people would say, I saw one where he asked a guy, someone working in a baseball stadium. He's like, "Can you show me the," I forget what the question was, but the guy ended up giving him this like super behind the scenes tour. He took him on the field. He got to do he had some really, really cool experiences because he dealt with the uncomfortableness of being rejected like that so frequently. And I'm curious, like, do you go through that even if it's on a smaller scale when you're trying to get further into your career in sales?
Yeah. Almost daily, but
Okay.
I think starting off, it was exactly that, you know,
Okay.
being nervous to pick up the phone and say, "Hey, this is Taylor from so and so," you know, just getting hung up on a million times and just feeling defeated. And then you get the one that's like, "Yeah, I'll talk to you." It's like, okay. And then you remember what worked for that last one that said yes finally. And you start to get better where it takes, you know, 100 calls to get one to say yes. Now it's all right. Now it's 50 because, you know, I've learned from the last one. So while the feeling may not go away of, you know, the rejection, hating the rejection, it does get easier, and I think you learn from the ones where you do win, so you can kind of critique the way you go forward. So yeah, it still happens daily in my role, and you know, I'm not selling personally, but you know, I think as a leader, my job now is to sell internally, whether it's to sell my team on, you know, something new that we're doing or sell another department on something that I need done. So yeah, the hesitancy to do that is always there. And I think just learning from, again, past experience on how to present my use case for whatever I'm trying to accomplish, kind of makes it easier.
Love that. I think that this is a good segue into, you kind of touched on it earlier, but so the namesake of this, if I knew then, I frame it up as, is there one piece of advice that you either wish you knew earlier in your career or that you would give to someone who's potentially looking to follow in your footsteps? It could be, it could be one piece, it could be multiple, but something that would potentially have helped you earlier on in your career.
Yeah, it's funny. Every time I watch one of your episodes, I think of something new. But yeah, I think the main thing that I would say is, again, went to school for something completely different from where I'm at. Not completely, but somewhat related. I think just be okay with not knowing. And I'm sure that comes up a lot in these, but you know, not knowing what you want to do junior year of college and hey, dang, maybe I should change my major. Do it. You know, when I left the marketing company, I was 25 and teetering back and forth. Even with my mom, I was still living at home. Uh, and just, you know, she's like, "You're young enough to make this change. You're not, you know, on the brink of retirement. You're not supporting a family yet." And I think just having the confidence to make that shift. Well, maybe I'd be in a similar situation now if I stayed in marketing, but I am very happy where I'm at, very happy with my career path. And I think just being comfortable with not knowing what you want to do until you try a bunch of different things during college, after college, and really finding your niche. And I think you don't need to be good at it either. Find what you like and you can get good at it. I think that's one thing that I've taken away a lot, know different products that I've sold at PayPal or even here, but I know I love sales and I can get good at the other stuff. So yeah, I think that's the biggest thing. I think one other thing is always be networking. That got me so many opportunities, whether it's, just a normal sale or an opportunity, again, at a startup that I had no business being at, that ended up getting acquired. So I think at any point, again, you and I, alone, like just, I think LinkedIn's an awesome opportunity now where you can get in touch with people that you haven't talked to in forever or introduce yourself in some, capacity, and don't be afraid. I think that over encompassing, don't be scared to, get rejected. Taking a full
Yeah.
circle back to sales.
Yeah.
But
I love that
yeah,
advice. There's
yeah.
there's so many layers to that. I think being comfortable with the unknown is truly. I had no clue what I wanted to do in school either, and it's so much easier to say it with hindsight, which is why I think like having these conversations is important. Because in the moment, you're like, so many people know exactly what they want to do. I have no clue, or I think I want to do this. Like your example, I find out I don't like it, and then I feel like I'm stuck. But having the courage to do something, I mean, there's a couple of things there. One, there is take risks, put yourself in uncomfortable situations. And it, like you said too, the way you assess your risk at different points in your life is different, but you find the things that you like. And also following that challenge or like seeking the challenge that you're talking about too. You didn't explicitly say it in your If I Knew Then, but it came up
Mhm.
in your story.
Yeah.
I think it's so important, and it ties in there too. It's like you you have to continue to put yourself in uncomfortable situations to continue to grow, whether it's things that you really enjoy doing, whether it's things that you're being challenged to do, whether it's the next step in your career. I think that advice is awesome. And
Yeah.
also to tie it back into the sales piece too, is that, yeah, you may fail, but that's the point about taking the risk is you're never going to succeed if you don't take those tiny risks.
Spot on. I wish I took more, back in the day. So the more the merrier, fall on your face, learn quick.
Yeah, I love it. So, all right. So what's next for you? What's your future goals?
Future goals, that's a great question. I think for at least the short term, learn what the heck I'm doing. The complexity behind benefits is pretty large, so
I hear that. Yeah.
as I'm sure you know. So yeah, again, I think leaning into my sales experience kind of helps me at least kind of get some immediate credibility with the team. But the quicker I can pick this up, the quicker, we can get kind of ramped up pretty quickly. My team, again, is two tenured folk, and the rest are within the last, year or two. So it's going to be a lot of learning for us all. I think that there's six different teams in the Mid-Atlantic. My goal, probably within the next 12 months, is to be teetering with the top team. Again, just the competitive side,
Yeah, love it.
it's never not there. So whether I'm delusional or not will be foreseen, but I think that's a short-term goal that I'm looking to accomplish.
Yeah, I joke about like some of the people who are super successful have a level of irrational confidence that I
Yeah.
aspire to. So I'm not suggesting that is irrational whatsoever. It could be totally rational right in your grasp, but it doesn't matter. You should be irrational all you want and keep shooting for,
Hmm.
um, so I love that. I wish you luck. That's awesome. I think from my perspective, I know we haven't talked in a while, but I think that they're lucky to have you. You have the level of, if you keep that level of vulnerability and the level of honesty, I think for what it's worth, not that I'm not but I think that you're primed for success and your team's lucky to have you. So thank you very much for doing this, Taylor. I appreciate it. It's been great catching up with you.
For sure,
I
man.
wish you the best of luck in your future too.
Awesome. I appreciate that. And this is great catching up, man.
Thank you, too. All right.